Hey there, it's Jason from Codemanship with another video diary update. Um, so I've just recorded and I'm in the process of posting a video about the testing pyramid. This is for Java. I'll be doing ones for JavaScript and C# and Python eventually. And it got me to thinking, one of the points I kind of make in the video is a very serious point, is that how long it takes to build your software is a key factor in your sort of feedback cycles, your delivery cycles. The longer builds take, the less often you're going to be able to deliver, essentially, and it becomes a bottleneck. It's almost like the metabolism of your software delivery process. And if your builds are slow, you will have a slow metabolism. And I see that problem manifest not just in software development, but then that tends to start to lead to delays for the business, for the organization. And the point I wanted to make is, as a consultant over the last 20 years, and particularly in the last decade with Codemanship, 9 times out of 10 when I engage with a client who has a particular problem with their software delivery process, they have bottlenecks and delays and low quality and dissatisfied users and all that kind of stuff. 9 times out of 10, when you trace it back to the underlying cause, it's because their builds are slow. And the reason their builds are slow usually is because their tests are slow. They have slow running test suites. I'll give you an example. I engaged with a company that makes software for law firms and that kind of thing. And they were commercially very successful over a number of years. But they had reached a point where it was so expensive to change their software that the next version that customers were crying out for was very seriously delayed, and this was having a very unhealthy impact on their bottom line. And when I got there, we spent a little time sort of talking with the developers about what was happening, and we traced it down to the fact that it took 3 days to run their test suite because they were all browser-based automated tests. Now, if your tests take 3 days to run, then that's going to impact every part of delivery. You're making changes to software, and you don't even know whether you've broken the software for several days, sometimes weeks. They were actually running their tests every couple of weeks. So their feedback cycles were very slow. The software was, on the whole, permanently not shippable. Nobody really knew whether it was working. To find out, they had to stop everything and run the tests. And that was beginning to create real problems for the business. Another client I worked with in the financial sector, similar kind of thing, except that their testing process was largely manual and took weeks. And they'd been trying for 9 months to get a new release of their software into production. Everything in their business was on hold. Every change they wanted to make to their business model, to their products and their services, was being delayed by their inability to stabilize the software and get it out for a release. And I've got case after case after case. A very large British originated software company that I worked with once had a build cycle that took 24 hours, and they met a similar kind of fate. Be under no illusions. The delays that are caused by slow tests, I have seen kill large established businesses. I mean, for real, billion-dollar businesses. It's very, very serious stuff. So you watch the videos on the testing pyramid. Please take them seriously, because so many problems in software development ultimately stem from the fact that it takes a long time to build and test the software. You're having problems understanding the requirements, for example. If your delivery cycle is weeks or even months, then that's going to really, really cost you. You kind of have to get the requirements right. And let's face it, realistically, you won't. So if you're struggling on that side of things, slow build cycles will make it much, much worse. If you're delivering working software every week or even every day, if your delivery cycle is very short, then misunderstandings about requirements get caught and addressed much earlier, much sooner. And it opens all sorts of doors. Essentially, you can learn your way to the right thing rather than trying to figure it out up front, which very rarely actually works. So there are many, many problems that stem from the fact that it takes a long time to test the software. So take it seriously. It doesn't happen by accident. You need to invest in it. You need to put time and thought and effort into continually optimizing your tests. And that means that you need to be continually optimizing your architectures to be unit testable. So you need to be thinking about that stuff all the time. So all of these things, this is where the rubber meets the road in terms of software craft. It's all designed to get to a point where you can essentially keep delivering and keep delivering and keep delivering and learning with each delivery. Business proposition, very, very simply, is more throws of the dice, as many as the business needs. So you need to have a fast pace of delivery, and you need to be able to sustain that pace for as long as the business needs. So if the lifetime of that system is going to be, I think the average is 8 years for a system that actually makes it into production, then over those 8 years, and I've seen it many, many times, the whole process starts to slow down. All that technical debt builds up, and slow running tests are probably the most damaging kind of technical debt. And after a while, it becomes very, very difficult and very, very risky to change the product or change the service or change the system that the business is relying on. And then that starts to really hurt the business. And we see, I'm sure we've all seen examples of that, maybe experienced them firsthand. So my advice to teams is always, in those situations, start speeding up those tests. There's lots that can be done. If you've got legacy code with no tests, you can start incorporating tests as you make changes, and we'll cover that in an upcoming video. If you've got system tests or browser-based tests or those kinds of tests that are running very, very slow, start migrating those into fast-running unit tests, which will require you to tackle any underlying dependency problems or architectural problems that are stopping you from doing that. The client in the law space that I was working with actually stopped requirements. They froze requirements for about a year, maybe more, if I recall correctly, to refactor the product to try and speed things up. But they made a terrible mess of it, because at the end of that year, they still had no unit tests, and they hadn't addressed any of the architectural problems that were preventing them from writing unit tests. They just, I don't know what they did. They optimized a bunch of other stuff, thinking that would speed it up. I think what they did was they tried to optimize database operations, which was solving exactly the wrong problem. The problem that they were solving is the fact that the database had to be involved in testing their code in the first place. So that's the kind of thing you need to be addressing. And once you start to address it, once you start to turn that code base around, I've seen it make quite a profound difference. I've seen some businesses that were in real trouble actually over the space of 2 or 3 years of ongoing refactoring and adding unit tests and optimizing that test suite into a pyramid shape, reach a point where their product was now a going concern again, or their business was now in a position to start being more ambitious about how it evolved and changed in terms of its systems. So it's very important stuff. It's stuff that you really need to think about, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of investment, as all these things do. It's where all the roads of software craft lead. They all lead to, or they're all facilitated, I should say, by fast feedback cycles, and that requires fast running tests. So they're kind of crucial. They're very much the secret ingredient there. Anyway, that's something for you to ponder on. If you're in that kind of situation, you may want to look and ask yourself, is maybe the test execution time is the cause of all of this? And what can we do about that? Managers very particularly will try to steer developers away from those kind of technical solutions. It's always a management problem to them about how the team and the hiring and the timesheets or whatever they think the problem is. I can say with a high degree of certainty, 9 times out of 10, the problem has been the tests take too long. So something to ponder on. Anyway, that's me from lockdown again. I hope you're staying safe. Look out for the videos there's an upcoming video on Java about legacy code, a very boring but unfortunately very necessary topic that will feed into this whole idea of the testing pyramid and design principles. And then we're going to round off the Java videos with a video about continuous inspection, automated code reviews, and how we remove that bottleneck from our delivery cycles. So there you go.